Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 557 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our sixth book just came out. It's called I'm So Beautiful, It's Ridiculous: Unleashing and Promoting Strength, Self-Worth, and Real Sisterhood. So go and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, the cost of housing in this country continues to go up. And in all of my conversations with college students on campuses all across North America, many college students today are wondering if they will ever be able to afford to buy housing in this country, especially in the major cities. I love watching HGTV, and I watch these television shows where couples will buy homes, on television. And the thing that I'm paying attention to is what is their occupation and how are they affording that $1 million home? Because to me, it's mind-boggling, especially with the rising interest rates. I often wonder how home ownership is going to be a reality for Gen Z. Well, here's the good news. There are so many people out there that are building efficient, comfortable, and inexpensive houses that are much more affordable for Gen Z. So on today's show, I wanted to talk to somebody who is doing exactly that. Raised on the Monterey Peninsula in California, Larry Weingarten has been self-employed most of his working life. He got his general contractor's license in 1982, and hot water has been an interest in so many forms. So Larry has been a member of the National Association of Corrosion Engineers and the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers. In 1992, he and his wife completed the Water Heater Workbook. He has written articles on water heating and energy for various trade journals and has taught about these topics for PG&E, California State Parks, Affordable Comfort, and others. Larry finished building an off-grid home in 2006, which was designed to be very efficient, comfortable, and inexpensive. It was the 13th home to meet the 1,000 Home Challenge, a competition for creating super efficient homes. With over 50 years of dealing with man-made things and their makers, he has come to believe that self-sufficiency is an important goal that we should all be working towards. Welcome to the show, Larry.
Hi, glad to be here. Thank
Hey,
you.
I am happy to have you on the show. I think you're a fascinating guy, and I think you hold the key for Gen Z to be homeowners at some point in this country. So I'm so happy to have you on the show. And as I mentioned before, you were raised on the Monterey Peninsula there in California, and you've been self-employed. But for you, very obvious to an outsider that you love hot water. So where did this passion for hot water come from?
Hot water's fun, in part because people don't know anything about it. In part because there's so much room for improvement. So just a little side trip. We replace about 9 million water heaters every year now in the US. This is roughly an $11 billion cost, a little more than that every year. I can show you how to maintain water heaters to get 50 years of life out of them instead of the average 9 to 12 years. So that could save, you know, 40%, well, save 80 plus percent of that $11 billion. But I got into hot water because I had a friend who owned an apartment complex and he had tenants that were threatening to move out because the water heaters were thumping and making sounds. Okay, so he gave me a challenge. Larry, can you fix this? I'm in my teens. Uh, let's see. I knew it was sediment at the bottom of the tank, so I had to figure out. I knew that flushing doesn't work. You know what caught the tank comes, sidewalls come down, bottom is domed up. So there's this ring of sediment
Mhm.
around the bottom. How do
Mhm.
you get that to simply flush out? So I came up with a milk crate and a pump and a filter and made a water-based vacuum cleaner that could vacuum the sediment out of the tank from the top. I'd pull water and sediment out and return the filtered hot water back to the tank till I was getting no more sediment. It worked. The tanks got quiet. tenants didn't move out. So that was a fun challenge. And then I wanted to learn, well, what are all these other pieces of the water heater? And what's this anode rod thing? What's this dip tube thing? What are all these bits? So I studied, and ultimately no one in the US could help. They sent me to a guy in Canada who worked for on Ontario Hydro, who sold electricity. They lease water heaters to clients so they can have a steady base load. So they were very interested in how to maintain heaters to make them last. So I worked with their chief scientist for years and years. And after a while, I was teaching him stuff from the field, things that I found. So we traded information for decades.
Hmm.
And I got to see all the different ways water heaters behave and misbehave, and what you can do to keep them going.
Man, that's amazing. I mean, the fact that you can help a water heater last 50 years, that is just incredible. And people all over the country should be paying attention to what you have to say instead of just blindly replacing them when maybe we really don't need to replace them. So I think that's absolutely brilliant. And interestingly enough, too, my youngest sister, she graduated as an engineer from Rochester Institute of Technology, and she also has this fascination with water heaters. So I'll have to match the two of you up because you can talk about water heaters all day long.
Get the water heater workbook then.
Yeah, I'm going to. I am going to get her that workbook. There's no question about it. Now, you also finished building that off-the-grid home in 2006 that was designed to be very efficient, comfortable, and inexpensive. And so, at a time like this, when the interest rates are so high, the costs for homes are so expensive, I think the college students who are listening right now will be very interested in your off-the-grid home that you were able to build. So, what did you learn in building this home?
But let me talk about some of the ways that I made it cost less. And 'cause all these pieces tie in together. Making it super energy efficient means I didn't need to be hooked up to the grid. I'm two-thirds of a mile from the nearest power line. I would have had to underground power to my house to get it there. I couldn't even run it on power poles. Um, so I saved something over $75,000 by not tying into the grid. My whole off-grid power system, it's an 1,800 square foot house, but I made it very efficient. So 1,500 watts worth of photovoltaic panel is all that it takes, or took when I built it, to power it. Um, some batteries and inverter. I had about $5,000 into the solar system, and that saved me $75,000, and I don't have any bills. So that's a start. Um, I made it too efficient. I used I used a thing called SIP panels, or SIPs, structural insulated panel system, which is basically foam with plywood on both sides. And my walls are 8 inches thick. Everyone told me I was crazy. The floors are 10 inches thick, and the roof is a foot thick. So the heat loss from the house in the worst case is about 27,000 BTUs. It's tiny. A water heater could easily do that. Um, so I built, well, so by making the house super efficient, the heating system became simple and cheap.
Got it.
The house is in a nice spot. I can look out. I get a view over Monterey Bay. So I designed it to be an outward looking house. So no fancy finishes inside. Granite tops are made out of linoleum.
Mhm.
It was cheap, durable, simple. And so finishes, all that are just basic stuff, because I wanted an outward looking house, and because I've got such a great view. There are animals out there in the water and so on. So why not? So ultimately, when the going rate per square foot of house was $250, I built mine for around $100 per foot. Um, Even things like, I put a garage door opener. I found a used one. Faucets throughout the house are all Chicago faucets. That's a brand. It's basically one of the very best American-made brands. New old stock on eBay.
Huh,
So I'd get it for a tenth the price.
amazing.
So just shopping and paying attention to detail, and of course doing most of the work myself, you
That's
know.
really good. I mean, good for you. That's definitely a blueprint on how to make this happen. So good for you. I think that's really, really helpful to our listeners. And you wrote this book. It's called The Philosopher's Wrench: Using Your Creativity, Heart, and Tools to Fix the World. And you mentioned right away that enlisting the powers of openness, perspective, and a quiet mind can go far in helping you fix any problem. What did you mean by that?
Well, let's take them one at a time. Perspective. Say there's a problem. If you look at it from only one point of view, you won't understand it very well. Maybe you should look at it from not, say, the plumber's point of view, but from the homeowner's point of view. What do they experience? Maybe you should look at it from the point of view of the corrosion processes going on over time. Maybe you can look at it in terms of the heat transfer that's going on. Understanding the water, if there's a lot of heat transfer, hardness scale can build up and clog things, cause trouble. So look at it from as many different perspectives as you can. Pretty soon the problems become clear. It's nice. The quiet mind thing is, I'm a horrible multitasker. I'm not good at doing any more than about three-quarters of a thing at once. But um, doing one thing at a time allows me to really focus on the thing and see it well. Being present means, sort of along the same lines. I'm not letting what's happened in the past or what might happen in the future interfere with how I look at something.
Hmm. Yeah.
I've been up to the eighth plumber on the job because no one else could figure things out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because they were not smart, it was because they were led down a path. Like one time water heater. Um, there was insulation on one pipe and none on the other. Well, the insulated one must be the hot pipe, right? It's got insulation on it.
Should. Yeah.
Everyone else assumed that. I turned on the water and that pipe got cold.
Oh no.
So someone had hooked up the pipes backwards.
Right.
That that's all.
Interesting. Really, really interesting. Well, I
Can't,
appreciate that.
yeah. So
That, yeah.
can't assume anything.
Right. That's a good perspective. I think that's really good and never assume anything. You have this whole chapter in the book talking about honoring dead men and the mentors. So, for all the college students who are listening right now, but they haven't really found their mentors in life, how have the mentors impacted your life?
I Mentors come in all different sizes. They come big and little. They come in, like, you may only meet them once. They may have one thing to say or do. So they can come in all flavors. I worked I got my first job when I was 14. And the guy that I worked with was a World War II vet, just a curmudgeon. And um, he said, "Go water these plants." So I watered them, and I came back. He said, "You're done too soon. Go water them again." Okay. Um, that taught me something. Just that little bit. Another time we had some lights, some Christmas tree lights, and I hooked a single light up to 120 volts, and it flashed and burned out.
Mm.
And I didn't at that point understand the difference between parallel and series wiring. This taught me. He let me burn a bulb out so that I could understand the power had to flow through one bulb into the next bulb and so on, and that each one acted like a resistor, so none of the bulbs were hurt, yet one at a time they'd all just burn out
Hmm.
with
Yeah.
power. That was a great lesson for me, and he just watched me burn the bulb out and walked off. That was his job, but it taught me a lesson.
Yeah.
I've had other, so mentors come from all different places.
Hmm.
It can be a quick little thing like that, or basically, if you show an interest in something and you want to learn, the mentor is going to show up, because people that have taken the time to learn stuff want to share it. They want other people to know what they've learned.
Hmm.
I've mentored lots of people,
Hmm.
because I go to all this great effort to learn stuff. Is it all just going to go away when I die?
Mm.
I'd rather not. I'd rather it keep going.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you wrote the book because that does give an opportunity to our listeners to then go and learn from you all those life lessons. And you're right. Sometimes, a mentor is going to see what you're doing and they're going to let you fail as long as it's not going to hurt you, right? Like we don't want the electrician to let you like hurt yourself with electricity, which you can if you don't know what you're doing.
Don't lick the wires. Yeah.
Don't lick the wires. That is a really, really bad idea. So hopefully that mentor would immediately say, "Stop what you're doing, Larry. That's a terrible idea. So don't do that." But he allowed you to burn that bulb because he knew that that was a really good lesson for you to learn without hurting yourself, and you would remember that for the rest of your life. You wouldn't repeat that mistake, right?
It's
So
true.
that's a good mentor for sure. And you've also done well in terms of fixing rundown homes. So, what is a good investment for those students that might be wanting to get into real estate, but they don't have a lot of money to make that happen?
Different ways to make this go. One thing that I've done, start small. Like if you can get to know the owners and managers at a trailer park, mobile home park,
Mm.
often people leave their homes. They just go, and they leave a mess full of truckloads of trash, stuff. The management and the owners don't want to deal with it. What to do? They'll give you the home. So get the cost of getting in really is primarily your time and effort to fix the place up.
Mhm.
You've got to find the right park. You go around in your area, talk to all the parks, and find out, is anyone willing to work with you? But you can take something that you bought for zero, or sometimes just back rent for space rent,
Mhm.
fix it up, either rent it out if they'll let you do that, or sell it, and there's 10 or 20 or $30,000 that you just made.
Pretty
It's
good.
it's not a bad start. Another thing that I've done is tax deed sales. There are lien and deed states, and so generally the tax deed sales are the simpler way of getting title to a house, but you find a really wrecked house, something that scares other people off, because they look at that and say, this is a tear down. And you say, oh, goody, let's fix it. And I've done this, more than a dozen times.
Mhm.
You go in and find a wrecked house that scares other folks off, and fix it. Put the roof back on, replace all the wiring and plumbing that's been cut out, whatever. Just do it. And you have something that your main investment's time.
Mhm. Well, you're certainly inspiring me. I don't know much about building homes, but I tell you what, you're definitely inspiring me to start looking into that because certainly a
But
lot of money to be made.
fixing is pretty neat, because most of it you could say is repair work.
Hmm.
Repair work in general doesn't even require a permit. You're
Right.
just fixing. You're
Yeah.
putting it. So it's simple, uh, you know.
Very nice. Very nice. In that philosophy section of your book, you talked about the difference between responding and reacting. What is the difference between those two?
That's about what's going on inside of you. If you respond to somebody, you're taking in what they give you, weighing it, thinking about what you can do with it, how you can help, and giving them a response. Reacting, it's like they've pushed your hot button, and there's this knee-jerk emotional reaction to it,
Mhm.
which isn't necessarily good for anybody. I have this habit that I got into. Before I respond to anyone, there's this little internal voice that says, will it help? You know, if I say this thing that's on my head, in my mind, will it help, or will it just be taken wrong, or be noise, or get in the way, or make things worse?
Mhm.
If it doesn't pass the will it help test, I'm quiet. I think it's something else.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I try to respond and not react. Unless something is unsafe, if someone's about to stick those wires in their mouth, I'm going to react.
Right. Yeah, grab it. Right.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Now, you also conclude the book by talking about what is the value of life. And I've been thinking about that question quite a bit. The older you get, I think you start thinking about that question an awful lot. How do you even begin to answer that question?
This is one of the fun things about the harder the question seemingly is, the simpler the answer is. And there's a country and Western singer, Tim McGraw, who wrote a song, Live Like You Were Dying. You might want to listen to it. It's been around a little while, but the basic, it's life is a gift. It's something not to be wasted. It's not for, sitting in front of the television all the time. It's for what if I knew I were dying tomorrow, what would I do anything differently now? Would I behave differently? Would I be nicer to people? Would I, what would be different? How could I maximize my usefulness and my time here? And another thing is, it's not really all about me. I see life as this big, huge, connected web. I see our planet as being alive. And one of my jobs is to help that life, all of that life. And if you feel connected, there's of value. You're part of something bigger, something important that you can help. Being of service to me is a fun thing. It's like I always get more back than I give. So it's like the more I help, I feel like I'm being greedy, because I get always more back. It may not come from whoever I gave it to. It may come from some other source, but I
Right.
always get more back.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I've lived my life by that, just freely giving to other people and helping other people to reach their dreams. And somehow the world will repay you. I don't know how that works. Call it
Uh-huh.
karma, call it, whatever you want to call it. But you're right. It might not necessarily be the person that you're helping. I think that's the key to all of this.
Mhm.
But ultimately, it will help you long term. So I live by the same motto, and I tell you what, it's worked out for me in spades. So I'm very grateful for it. And also, the other thing that you and I have in common is that we both love cats. I have Siberian cats, and they're huge. I mean, they take over the house, but they're lovely, and they're almost like dogs in their personality, but they're cats. And you often talk about your relationship with the kittens and the cats that they grow up to be. What do animals do for you?
I- If I may, I'm working on the next book, and there's an article from it that I'd like to read to you, because it answers this.
Okay.
And And I'll just show you, see if you can see. That is Prince.
All right, I see Prince lying on his back over
Yeah.
there.
He's sitting on the chair right next to me right now.
All
You know,
right.
he's like so. I'll just it'll take 2 or 3 minutes.
Sure, go for it.
Because this answers. It's entitled "My Teacher." My teacher has never been disconnected from the real world. He has always known himself as one with the universe, with not even a concept of separation. For him, this is simple. There's so much for him to teach me. I was on a call where the people were talking about ego and fear as things that kept us from feeling connected. I looked over to see the cat, Prince, on the chair next to me. He was sleeping on his back with paws out and a Mona Lisa cat smile on his face. I reached over and slowly, gently rubbed his belly. His paws started kneading the air, eyes still closed. There clearly was no fear, and if cats do ego, it's not at all like humans do, so I wasn't seeing it. What a nice demonstration he was giving, teaching me about the ways we can choose to be in the world. You can observe a lot by watching, and you can see a lot just by looking, are attributed to Yogi Berra. He probably knew some cats or possibly other animals who helped him to state the obvious so well. Prince still chases his tail at times or plays with his cat toys. He hasn't gotten the memo that he's an adult cat now, so he can simply have fun when he chooses. Clearly, this is his job. It's another lesson for his human. Another thing is how trusting he is. When he has something to say or wants my attention, he zigzags around in front of my feet as I'm walking. He somehow knows I'll manage to avoid stepping on him, and he certainly has my attention. He just knows things will work out. Can I ever attain that level of trust? We humans think about and act on what could go wrong. Prince acts on what could go right. Yogi Berra might have come up with something to say about this. Then there is the concept of having worldly possessions. I must have my books, tools, and other things to collect dust. I just have to keep my mind busy thinking about clutter clearing and wishing I could put more energy into being tidy. Prince isn't falling for it. He wants a place to rest, which is wherever he is. He does like food, which appears for him, and he likes toys. If proper cat toys aren't close by, whatever is becomes a toy. He doesn't need a TV as he can look out the window and watch the birds. He knows he doesn't need more. So much I have to learn. Fortunately, he's a kind and patient teacher. He just pretends he's doing cat stuff, but really he's a furry, spiritual leader hiding in plain sight. He doesn't even seem to get disappointed with his laggardly student.
Very, very nicely done. I tell you, as a cat owner, I definitely can empathize with all of those feelings because I often wonder the same things when they're just like lying on the couch with all four paws up in the air and trust. I mean, talk about trust. I mean, they're as vulnerable can be in that
Uh,
position, and they don't have a care in the world. I'm like, if there was a predator here, you would be done, right?
uh-huh, uh-huh.
But they fully trust, and it's an amazing thing to watch.
And I have had other cats that I got basically out of a trash pile at a house I was working on. They were less than a month old, and so I bottle fed them every 3 hours. For their entire lives, followed me around like a dog would.
Yeah,
They wanted to be next to me on my lap, standing on my head, you name it. They wanted to be with me. They never became that aloof cat, the way that we think cats are supposed to be.
right.
So it's fun. The early upbringing of a cat really matters.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I tell you what, those Siberians that I have, they're like dogs too. They want to be around you 24/7, right next to you or in your lap, whatever it is, but they're right next to you every moment. They are the furthest thing from aloof. So I agree with you completely. Well, this has been really fun. I tell you, I've enjoyed this quite a bit. I do like eating really good food, and I'm wondering, is there a particular meal that you happen to enjoy eating out there as you're kind of overlooking the bay over there? Or maybe even just a meal that brings you back to a good moment in your childhood.
Well, childhood, um, my mom used to make fruit cake,
Hmm.
and every fruit cake was the butt of a lot of jokes.
Sure.
But she made some really neat stuff. I just loved, it was a meal. It was good. Now I've never seen any like it.
Yeah.
But so that's in the past. These days, I learned from an Ayurvedic mung bean soup,
Oh, wow.
and it's fun. It's not just healthy, but makes me feel good. It's so that's what I do every week. I cook up some mung bean soup.
Wow, I've never had mung bean soup, so I'm gonna have to give that a shot. I have had some fruitcake. Fruitcake I do enjoy, so I'll see if I can find some good recipes and I'll send it over to your place. Very good. Well, this has been a lot of fun. If our listeners, if they want to connect with you for more information about water heaters, fixing stuff, building houses, or maybe they just want to go and buy your book, of course, the name of the book is The Philosopher's Wrench: Using Your Creativity, Heart, and Tools to Fix the World. So, where can they go to get all of this information?
Okay. Well, the book is on Amazon.
Hmm.
But I have a website as well, larryweingarten.com. And there's a contact form there. So if they want to get in touch, that's probably, that's the ready-made way. That might be simple. And there's a lot of other content on the site too about hot water, of course, and various blog posts and things.
Fantastic. Well, you're a great resource for our students to have. Go and visit his website. It's larryweingarten.com. He spells his name Larryweingarten.com. Go to the website. That way you can read all of his blog posts. He's got so much information on restoring homes, fixing homes, building homes, you name it. It's all out there. And of course, the water heaters too. So make sure you go and check that out. And Larry, what can I say? You are a gift to this world. Thank you so much for sharing all this great information with us today.
Thank you.
Of
Thank you
course. And
much.
to our listeners, if you enjoyed this chat with Larry today, I want you to like it and I want you to share it with other students. Maybe they have a passion for water heaters. Maybe they want to build a home someday off the grid. This is the guy that you really need to hear from. So thanks so much for hanging out with us today. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Bye for now.